Hey y'all, I'm Karen Mayer Cunningham, the special education boss. If you've ever felt confused, overwhelmed, or just plain frustrated at the 504 IEP table, you are in the right place. Every week, I'm breaking down the rules, the rights, and the realities of special education so you can walk into meetings informed, empowered, and ready to make real change. And whether you're a parent, a teacher, an advocate, a school-based member, or somebody who's just trying to do right by a student, this podcast gives you straight talk, real answers, and tools that you can use immediately. I'm not here to play politics. I'm not here to play sides. I'm here to train people who sit at the table and teach you how to follow the law, ask the right questions, and protect the rights of students. So go ahead and hit subscribe, share this with a friend, and you know what? Meet me back here every single week. We're not just talking about change. We're making it. Because when you know better, you do better. And when we get it right for the child, we get it right for everybody.
Hey guys, welcome.
All right, my son is diabetic and uses his cell phone to help monitor his blood sugar and to transmit the data to me so I can help monitor for highs and lows. But that cannot be taken away if the school implements a strict cell phone policy.
Is that a question?
Yes. Can his cell phone be taken away?
That people is why every child with diabetes in public schools need an IEP. Why? Because our job in special ed is to teach a child strategies to self-manage their disability. So many things come along with that, whether it's a Dexcom or using your cell phone. There's so many components to staying well while you have the condition of diabetes. Checking their paper before they take a test to see if they're too high or too low, to see if they need to dose, to see if they need food, to see if they need a break. So we need specially designed instruction around that. There's a great goal that also goes with diabetes. It's usually from the 18 to 21 program, but it's called travel training. For those of our kiddos that have diabetes that spend a lot of time in the nurse's office, we write an IEP goal about the efficiency of which they go and access their help and get back to the classroom. So you can't take it away if it's part of your IEP.
Perfect. Okay. Is it truly illegal for teachers to be the advocate to get the resources needed for their students? I was recently told by our SPED service provider that I have to be careful how I word things when I'm telling a parent their child needs specific testing, because if it's not the parent requesting, then the district has to pay for it.
Wow. You know, I started out this little tiny journey in 1997 with my child. And the first resource that I ever got, I was sitting in an IEP meeting. It wasn't going good. And the teacher next to me, we're sitting at a table. That's how long ago it was. And she literally had folded up a piece of paper and slid it over to me. And I took it like it was some sort of, illegal thing that I was doing. And I went outside and I opened it. And it was a resource for mental health, mental retardation services in Travis County. And unfortunately, nothing has changed in 28 years. We still have handicapped the teachers from being able to give those resources and the knowledge and the input and the wisdom that they have at meetings. And so I wouldn't imagine that it's untrue as it relates to admin telling them that. It's terrible because they're the ones that see the kiddos in the educational setting day in and day out. But that's our understanding from the teachers that we serve and train, that it really could jeopardize your job. Is it illegal? Of course it's not illegal. The law says that school districts and teachers work at school districts are charged with identifying, locating, and evaluating children with disabilities. So it's legal to do what's right and ethical under your licensure.
I recently retired from teaching 20 years, and the district that I worked in does not provide resource classes, which happened about 3 years ago. They also frequently pull inclusion paraprofessionals to be subs in gen ed classes, and minutes are often not met. I really feel like I need to file a complaint. How would I go about this?
So you could do a couple of things. If you're going to file a state complaint, it's on behalf of a student or a group of students, and vice versa for federal. For me, that's a systemic issue. That's the issue that we just filed in Washington County, Florida, and we had it open systemically. So if you reach out to us at advocate@specialeducationacademy.com, we're happy to send you that letter of how it was opened. We would love to train you to be a special education advocate and help kiddos from the outside in. But that's definitely a violation of failure to implement. Failure to implement is a denial of FAPE. And so that would be my allegation in my filing, this, the failure to implement, and that it's systemic and impacts all the children in these campuses and or grades.
All right, thank you. Okay, so this is an example of an annual goal. When given 1 minute timed test for oral reading fluency, the student will read at the 20th percentile when compared to their third grade peers. Oh, to their grade level peers, sorry. So does the student have to meet that goal 3 times for mastery, or do they read, if they're measuring the oral reading fluency, does it need to be met on a cold read, or can it be repeated reading?
Oh, that goal, it makes me verklempt. It's a terrible, terrible goal, love. That a student will do something, anything at 20%, I'm going to say it's going to be a 2 thumbs down for me. So we want to have a baseline. What was the baseline? The baseline has to exist in the present levels of academic achievement and functional performance. Based on that baseline, we take in a couple of things into consideration, right? Rate of progress and expectancy. So if the kiddo is 6, or I guess about 8, how long did it take him to read at what level, right? And so 20% of what? There is DRA, GRA, Font Espanol, Raz Kids, Lexile, NM8. And there's so many different reading levels. I would say a very linear thing that we can measure is WCPMs, words correct per minute. I would be taking data weekly. Probably the hardest thing that you can do is get a child to read faster, but I would never spend 36 instructional weeks to have a child do anything at 20%. But I think you got to find out what your baseline is, and then look at 2 different things. Is it independent reading level and or instructional? I don't know if I answered the question or if I just messed up the answer.
No, I mean, there was a lot of little questions in that. Yeah. That was fantastic.
Thank you. Oh, look. And I got an orange heart. I'm so excited.
All right. So the child has narcolepsy. And the question is, does a school have to comply with a doctor's recommendation for the 16-year-old child to be given a nap at school?
The school doesn't have to comply with anybody, it appears to be my experience. However, we would take into consideration the child's medical needs while they are participating in an educational program. So we look at educational impact. What is the educational impact? Depending on the acuity of that, I don't know where they define it, that it's the middle of the day. Is it at 12:30? Is it during reading? Was it during biology? You need to have more specificity. I would have the doctor, doctors are really good at giving a summary letter. I would have the doctor give more specificity, or if you can make it happen, the doctor or his nurse jump on the IEP meeting on a Zoom real quick and give recommendations and answer questions for the IEP committee.
All right, I wanted to just reach out and ask if you...
It's a little bit, I'm sorry, you're so tiny and your voice is tiny. So it's just a little bit hard to hear you. So just pretend that you're yelling at the neighbors, not your children, but the neighbors.
I can do that. Good yell. All right, I just wanted to reach out and ask if you ever do individualized sessions to go over FPAs and IEPs with parents and answer their questions.
Yeah, I have blocks of time that you can buy. It's just on our website.
I'm a first-year SPED teacher, and I have some students who qualify for ESY. I really want to bring it up, but I'm worried that my school lead will turn it down. How would it be best for me to go about starting this conversation so I can get them ESY?
So I would, come from a place of expectancy, right? We are expecting our kiddos to continue to hold the acquisition of skills that they acquired this school year. So we're really excited about our kiddos participating in ESY so that they can keep the gains that they've already acquired.
All right, here's a star question. You ready?
Yeah, I think so.
How is it legal for the state of Texas to make all special education kids take the STAR test on grade level and then count towards the accountability rating?
Even with accommodations, it's not modified to fit their specialized IEP.
So a very long time ago, when my oldest son, who was in special ed and resource, he graduated 2013 when I was, 10. And they had the modified state test, which makes, let's say it together, sense. And now we just have the regular state test and the alternative test. Unfortunately, as much as I like to give credit where credit's due, it's not a Texas issue. This is a multi-gazillion dollar moneymaker that's lobbied in every cocktail party, in every convention, and has nothing to do with education. It's just a moneymaker. Of all the things that I'm going to spend my capacity on, fighting this isn't one of them, and I know a lot of you do, and God bless you. I just have my kiddos take it, do their best, and then move on. It's not a criteria for graduation. It's not a grade. And as somebody who's an adult, who's 58.4 years old, say it with me. Nobody cares. Nobody cares if you're the valedictorian. Nobody cares if you're third from the bottom. Nobody cares if you were the homecoming queen. I wasn't. Nobody cares if you were, the class clown. I was. People care if it's more enjoyable when they're around you than when they're not around you. So, what tests don't measure is capacity. They don't measure fortitude. They don't measure loyalty. They don't measure kindness. They don't measure if you're going to be a great employee, an amazing parent, a wonderful asset to the community. So it's just one of those things. Do your best and then move on.
Amen. Okay. Special education teacher's self-contained room in Mississippi. Could you please explain what, quote, homebound as needed means? I've seen it on 3 of my kids' IEPs written last year. It's being used to justify being absent for any reason, I think. Is that even a thing?
So homebound as needed means a student has an acute medical condition, probably, let's give you an example here. I have a kiddo that I serve in West Houston who is needing chemo. And so sometimes in the series rounds of chemo, she does really well, and sometimes she doesn't. And so instead of having to come back to the table, and she's a general ed homebound student. You can get homebound general ed 504 IEP. We've written in our documentation as needed, and not that it's as needed. It's that, I don't have to call and set up another meeting. These parents and this little girl going through enough already. It's not intended for not coming to school. So homebound has great specificity. It's primarily driven from a medical professional. It will have parameters around it. It will say, Lakin will be homebound from the first day of school, August 14th, 2023, till the last day of 12/31/2023. It's usually done by semesters. And then you get off of homebound by the doctor's orders as well. But it's not for not coming to school. It's because the acuity of their medical needs, we're not trying to put another layer of weight and burden on the family.
Okay, schools are refusing to amend an ETR to add an autism uses because I guess the annual is not due for another year. What can I do?
So we don't mend for diagnosis. So we amend to add an eligibility. So if there is a new eligibility consideration, whether it's for me, my Uncle Bob, the Surgeon General, we have to convene a meeting, whether we like it or not. Special ed is not what you want to do or what I want to do. There are legal requirements. So 2 times that you have to convene a meeting are when we're considering eligibility and when we're adjusting minutes. It doesn't mean you can agree with them. We all know that we don't always agree at meetings. But if there's a consideration for a new eligibility, then we have that meeting.
All right. Can a guidance counselor provide a service that is listed that the school psychologist will do it on the IEP?
If they're also a school psychologist.
All right. My nephew is newly mainstreamed and is not included in Fun Friday because he isn't taking the AR test. I guess it's district or state testing. Is that legal?
So AR, I'm not a fan of it at all. It's about reading. right? And I think that's great. I think it's a great motivator. I'm all about competition. But if you struggle with a disability, that's probably not something that should make you compete. You're already not winning with your non-disabled peers. So I would certainly sit down gently and have a conversation with the administrator and say, is there something else that we can do so that my child has equal opportunity and equal access? That's discrimination based on disability.
Okay. My district has told us to give IEP students unlimited retakes. Do you agree with this?
No. Well, who would? Where in life do we get unlimited retakes? Like, if I don't pay my bills this month as a mortgage company, that's fine. Like if you just go and like have a basket full of groceries and you sell my wallet, they're like, that's fine. We are setting children up for catastrophe by these processes and patterns of pathology that we do in school. We are to do 3 things for children: get them ready for post-secondary success with gainful employment, independent living, and further education, not coddle them.
Okay, it looks like this person has submitted a written request for an evaluation or an assessment, and the school has tabled it, and it wants to wait until the upcoming IEP meeting happens 4 months from now.
She can say that she's been vaccinated for tables, and there's no tabling. We're not at grandma's house for Thanksgiving. We don't table a request. You could certainly deny a request, and I would say, should you choose to deny my written request for please provide that denial in writing. And so, lo and behold, you'll get your meeting.
All right. This is a SPED teacher asking the question, is there a limit to the amount of IEPs in the classroom? I currently serve an obscene amount.
Yeah, I don't. God bless teachers, period. And then God bless teachers that have a heart for SPED kiddos. Unfortunately, I see teachers that have, SPED in their bones, or they're SPED certified, or that's one of their sweet spots. Then we put a very high number of kiddos with IEPs in their room. That's unfortunate. What happens at the beginning of the year is all SPED students are given to the master schedule list first. But that's certainly something you need to talk to with admin, because we want equity in the room. I want the same educational product for the gen ed students as I do for my special ed students. I don't want them to have more attention because you have duly unweighted the room.
Okay. My child has motor apraxia, gross and fine motor delay. What accommodations should he have?
So accommodations are based on a student's unique circumstances. So the law says that we are charged with carefully and reasonably considering the student's needs, writing an IEP to enable them to make progress in light of their circumstances. Andrew F., March 22nd, 2017. So because I don't know your child's unique circumstances, I certainly know the medical condition or the disability. I wouldn't be able to give you an answer for that. But remember, accommodations are on top of IEPs, right? So we write an IEP, an individualized education goal, that we're going to work on a deficit. The accommodation is needed because we know without that accommodation that we wouldn't be able to implement the IEP goal.
Okay. Does the school need to provide an ASL interpreter for a student who is vocal but uses cochlear?
If the student meets eligibility for deaf and hard of hearing, and that is their modality, we have to provide them an interpreter. Never listen to the student doesn't need an interpreter because they have they're really good at lip reading. That was something I heard one time. But yes. Did I say yes? Yeah.
All right. I just had an entire PLC about IEP goals. If you could narrow it down, what are 3 or 4 fundamental elements of a good IEP goal?
So I think an IEP goal needs to have 3 things. Where are you? Where do you expect the child to end up? And what are you going to do to facilitate that, right? So I need to have some language or knowledge about what my baseline is. I need to have at minimum, after direct and explicit instruction, that's going to be delivered by the special educator and the co-implementers on the IEP goal. And what is the expected outcome after I deliver that specially designed instruction?
Excellent. My daughter has ADD. She's on medication. and this will be an annual ARC meeting. However, the goals and interventions are not geared towards helping the actual behavior. I've sought out a behavioral therapist she will do therapy with, and the school district does not have any behavioral therapists assist in the district. What would your advice be on how to get the therapy on her IEP, and can I have the district pay for it?
So behavioral therapy is not a requirement under IDEA. Special education is, right? So for your student, I would go back into the FI, the full individualized evaluation, go back and look for the LSSP, the licensed specialist and school psychologist, school psychology, the psychologist, the social worker, whoever did that emotional behavioral part, and look at the characteristics of her ADHD and go back and write IEP goals around that, and then talk about who is the special educator that will work on making sure that those goals are implemented with fidelity.
All right, what is the timeline after an initial IEP testing is completed to when they determine eligibility? In Florida, they met their 60 days and they have a, quote, reasonable amount of time to give me the results, is what they say.
So Florida has a meeting to have a meeting to have a meeting and then talk about having another meeting. You want to have a meeting? So we don't do a lot of things good in Texas, but we get in there and get it done. So they do have a timeline. Everybody has a timeline off of evaluations unless it's a reevaluation. So if it's an initial evaluation, you have 30 days or a month to come back to the table. So when we talk about reasonable, we can assume that it wouldn't exceed that. So there's no reason that it would exceed that. So I would send an email and say, I'm greatly concerned that you are out of compliance, not having this meeting so we can look at my child's educational needs. Please let's get that scheduled as soon as possible. And also remember, if you're having concerns in any part of the country, reach out to Manny Diaz at the Florida Department of Education. Tell him Karen said hi. Reach out to compliance and say, this is what's happening. This is what you're going to say when you have a concern at your state. List in the email what's happening in a sanitized way and then add this line. Please tell me where that is in the code. Please tell me where that is in the code. And so that you're building a file about what is the law in Mississippi, what is the law in Wisconsin, what is the law in Colorado, instead of having somebody who may or may not have knowledge of the law or the knowledge of the current law giving you directives and wrong information.
Absolutely. Okay. The state has directed that we cannot send home a draft IEP during an ETR because that would be predetermining the placement before reviewing the ETR as a team. Is that true?
No, there's no state. No, Lord, we got people busy. I had somebody tell me, it's probably not me, but it's definitely Quinn. Somebody told me that there was a law in a school district that they couldn't email me. Just me. So golly, I said, so your school board got together and they just voted you can't email Karen? I said, well, you emailed me invited to the meeting. That's different. Okay. So again, email compliance for your state. Compliance at the state level, I find them amazing, amazing, amazing. And even at the state level, I spent a lot of time in Wisconsin. God bless Wisconsin. At the state level, they will say, what district are you dealing with? And they will actually be able to pull up their own school board rules to see if there's an additional rule outside of the state regulations. But if it doesn't sound right, it's not right.
Well, have you ever heard of schools contacting CPS when parents hire an advocate or parents push to get things done for a student?
Absolutely. It's what schools do. It was actually how I became an advocate in October of 1997. I was a recipient of that ridiculousness. And then it happened again 4 months later. And then I was like, I got to do something about this. I think that CPS is a wonderful mechanism when used appropriately, not to hurt people. But, you certainly can't stop somebody from doing that.
What is your opinion on specialized private schools designed for ADHD-only students?
What's my opinion? My opinion is if you have those funds, if it fits into your life, and that's what is best for your family, then you should do that. However, I find that private schools, while they are good, we have some really good private schools in Houston. We have Monarch, we have Tuttle, we have the Parish School, we have Briarwood. They each have specificity. And so I had a young man finish Briarwood, and they did great for his behavior, but he actually regressed academically because the intention of that school was just his behavior, right? So if you have a school that their intention is ADHD, that's great. And I don't know whether it would or wouldn't happen. But I will stand on that there is no better setting for kids with disabilities in America than public schools when we get it right. And we get it right almost all the times. There are times that we don't get it right. But as somebody who's in a city of 7.5 million people, we don't have private schools where I'm just saying, you should go there. You should spend $67,000 and drive 4 times a day to a private school. That's not a recommendation that I give my clients.
Perfect. Is there somewhere I can get all this information that you're sharing in writing?
Yes. And when you get that, will you send me a copy? Somebody asked me the other day, they're in a mastermind. We do masterminds for people that want to be full-time advocates. She goes, can you streamline everything you're saying? I said, I don't know, but when you do, can I buy you a copy? So I've done this for a very long time. It's what I do, 60, 70 hours a week. And so it's just sort of like, writing with my right hand. Certainly you can avail yourself of Special Education Academy YouTube. We have great trainings there. All of this content goes up there. That's free. You can watch it in longer clips. Certainly join the Academy. 4 hours at minimum of training every month. We have hundreds of hours of training from the last 3 years that are archived in series. And just remember, learning, even this, you learn by repetition. And we want to give you all the tricks, tips, and tactical maneuvers that we use for successful student outcomes.
How much time do I give the school to get back to me after the 60 days have come and passed for the evaluation?
1 day. 1 day. This waiting, we're not marinating a brisket. We're not making a bottle of wine. This is your child. So, and while some people don't like my response, I'm completely fine with it. If your child was running 102 fever, would you just wait? And I would challenge you to not wait for your kids. They're not going to get time back. When you miss a month or 2 months, Betty in the front office is not going to call you and go, Christina, listen, I'm sorry that we missed that month. We're going to give you an extra month in the summer. No, your kids just lose. So this is the time to be the squeaky wheel. You are a guardian, a grandparent, an aunt, an uncle raising this child, a parent. You are the voice for your child. Stand up, and squeaky wheel gets the oil. And so if that's what we're supposed to be, I think as people that are shepherding children, I think we're supposed to be the squeaky wheel. So get to squeaking.
Perfect. Well, I think this might be my favorite question so far.
Okay.
If a child is eligible for special education, can the SPED director say that he can only come half day because the class is too full?
Oh, you know what? Special people can say whatever they want. My team members and myself, like if we just had a book of stuff that people say, we would just, no, they can't say that. You are required to give them the full instructional day.
All right. I have an upcoming ARG with an advocate for the first time. As a teacher, what's the best way to handle this meeting?
The same way you would handle any meeting. I want you to reframe when a parent brings an advocate. If you were selling your house, you'd probably get a realtor. If you were investing in the stock market, you'd probably get a broker. If you were getting a new transmission, you'd probably get a transmission specialist. Why is it that it's so weird that a parent is bringing somebody to walk them through this process? So I would just go in there and say, I'm so glad to see you, Ms. Cunningham, Ms. Smith, Ms. Jones, whoever that is. We look forward to working together. I would email them and say, Are there any questions I can answer ahead of time? And we look forward to an efficient meeting. Remember, every meeting is about one thing. Not me, not you, not them. It's about the child with a disability. And when we say student-centered, we're going to mitigate some of those other things. People behave and speak and talk in a way that hurts other people's feelings, sometimes purposefully, sometimes not, because they're focused on what they're doing. But I do believe most people at the meeting are student-centered.
All right. I am a special education teacher, pre-K, and I'm still learning. And I was wondering if there's a list of the things that the school is responsible for testing. An example is for my own child. I believe she may be dyslexic, but the school says they don't test for that. We have a very new SPED teacher with new admin, so they may not be aware. And I would love to be able to provide a list for them.
Yeah, so here's your list. So an initial evaluation, an FIIE, a full initial individualized evaluation, should cover all 8 areas. Other evaluations you can do just needed areas, but let's talk about those areas. Number 1, a speech and language evaluation to include pragmatic. Number 2, sociological. Number 3, medical physical. Number 4, cognition and all 7 Gs. Number 5, adaptive behavior. Number 6, formal achievement to include reading, writing, math, additionally oral expression and listening comprehension. Number 7, a full psychological evaluation, because everybody has emotions and behaviors. And we want a great baseline for that. And then number 8, all related and instructional services that would be appropriate to your child's suspected disability.
All right. I have a school division refusing to provide special education transportation for my child, even though it is in her IEP. What should I do?
I would ask when the private car will be here to pick him up. So transportation is a related service under IDEA. Should you choose to deny implementing the IEP, that's the same thing as denying them special education. So it's a related service, and they're denying the IEP and the conformity that you agreed upon it, and it's a denial of FAPE.
My son is on an IEP, 5th grade, on a 1st grade reading level. We want to hold him back, but the school district says we can't. Can they just tell us no?
Retention is an administrative decision. It's not an IEP decision. It's not a 504 decision. There's much academia both ways about retention. I have my child was retained in kindergarten. I'm a huge proponent of parents deciding if it's right for their child to retain them in kindergarten if they're not anywhere near meeting the state standards for kindergarten. When we're looking at retention when they're older, that is their peers, right? And so I think I've only had one child retained in later years. I think it was in 7th grade because he had onset epilepsy and was hospitalized, I think 80-something days. So he literally didn't go to school. So, but to retain, to catch him up, I would not be a proponent of that. But again, all retention, whether it's 1st grade or 11th grade, is an administrative issue, a discussion with the parent.
What can we do when our daughter refuses to work with her teacher? She will work with her parents, but not the new teacher. We have brought our concerns with para documentation to the admin, and nothing is being done. Is there anything else we can do?
So when it comes to staffing, IDEAs and state statutes are very clear that that's not part of an IEP or a 504. Certainly you can just share your concerns. I'm all about running it all the way up the flagpole. I'm all about a press conference. If it's impacting my child's ability to learn, I'm going to exercise as much as I can in the district. My administrative options exhaust them. So you have the principal of the school, and then you have probably a superintendent that's over principals. You have an assistant superintendent that's probably over education. I would just keep knocking on doors till I got that resolved.
All right. Can a school refuse to do additional testing if a student is chronically truant? The young child has a robust IEP with multiple related services, one-to-one pull-out in reading and math, as well as push-in and gen ed classroom. It's been less than 1 year since the initial IEP. Parents simply don't send the child to school more than 2 or 3 days a week and then demand more services due to lack of progress.
Yeah, we're only required to implement the IEP if you make the student available. That's certainly on the parent.
All right. I have a student who is nonverbal and was enrolled in my school with an autism diagnosis, but no IEP because he was never enrolled in pre-K. We started the MTSS process with him back in August and finally got his evaluation just completed. I filled out my portion of the eval 4 weeks ago, but we still haven't held an eligibility meeting or an IEP meeting because we are, quote, we are waiting on the school psych as my district is short-staffed in the school psychs. Is that legal? Can they continue to push the eval and the meeting off because we just don't have enough psychologists?
So I would ask them to bring in somebody privately. You're denying my child access to an appropriate education and addressing his special education needs.
All right. What kind of data is needed to show that an AAC device is needed? What kind of data? Yes.
So the data is the student has a profound speech impairment. So augmentative alternative communication is an amazing way to access a child's ability to communicate. The biggest gap that we see in special education has always been your ability to connect and communicate with peers and adults. So you simply ask for and request an an AT evaluation in communication, an AT evaluation in communication. And then when that comes back, you can make decisions on that. Now, I recently got an AT evaluation. I won't tell you where it was, Florida. It was 2 pages long. I'm like, are you trying to irritate me? Because you did. And that's a lie. The last page was the signature page. And she literally came into the school and sat down and talked to the teacher. I didn't ask for a sit down and talk to the teacher evaluation. What a waste of taxpayer dollars. So you want to make sure that your AT evaluation in communication, or your AT evaluation for vision, or your AT evaluation for written expression is built on the SET model. And we have a series in Special Education Academy you can go watch about AT. But we know from the Assistive Technology Act of 1998 from Congress that assistive technology changes the lives of individuals with disabilities in America. And so they are required to have access, and that education entity or that employer is to provide those. So I wouldn't move off of that. And we have Christina Cabral is our AT phenom. And so please reach out to us. We also have, if you go to Special Education Academy, we just did an amazing interview with Dr. Deanna Linick. We have interviews with the wonderful Sarah Loving. They're amazing resources. Go to assistiveware.com, but don't back off of getting that for your kiddo.
Those are great resources. Thanks.
Yes.
Is a gen ed classroom synonymous with the least restrictive environment?
No, there's no synonymous. So LRE is not general ed. Oh my gosh, did I just say that? LRE is LRE. LRE is not a location. It's a consideration. So least restrictive environment says that we're required to educate students to the maximum extent possible with their non-disabled peers with support, supplementary aids, and services and other things. When it's possible. It's not always possible. We have lots of kiddos that we serve that from 3 to 22 will never be in gen ed. I am going to say it louder. Woo! So if I hear one more meeting of somebody going, I just want to get him back to general ed. Do you? Do you want to do that? So we educate the student based upon their unique circumstances. We don't educate them in general ed. Years ago, I couldn't get a child included in general ed. And now that resource, like my natural hair color, has evaporated. I can't find it. It doesn't exist. So least restrictive environment says we've done the document, right? We've done present levels. We've done IEP goals. We've done accommodations. And now we're going to talk about a committee and look at all of these things. Where's the best place for him to have history? Where's the best place for him to have science? Where's the best place for him to have lunch? Where's the best place for him to have transportation? Where's the best place for him to have reading? And we walk through those components. But LRE is not general ed. You have to say it like that. Ed. It's 2 D's.
My dad's first name, Ed.
Does he have 2 D's? Or is it
This one.
what? The second D is silent.
The second D is silent. Okay, so I have a lovely sped teacher that's asking, do you say something when your team doesn't agree on the disability? So I think she's asking, how can you politely disagree with the team when you are part of the team?
Yeah, so I would say I disagree with your evaluation, your data summary and conclusion. Disagreeing is part of the human experience. So when my daughter and son-in-law and grandchild come here, nobody politely says, we don't want Mexican food. We don't want it. What is this? The point of you being part of a team is so that we have everybody's purview and can make better informed decisions. Otherwise, we can just send out an email. So I would just say, I'm not being disrespectful. I don't have to say respectfully. I would just say, Quinn, I disagree with your section of the evaluation and its conclusion. That's it. We have to stop being so delicate. I mean, can we get a spray for that? I would like to order a full bottle of D-Delicate.
I disagreed once and was asked, are you going to be able to drink the Kool-Aid?
Yeah, and I don't drink Kool-Aid because that messes up my lipstick, so I'm not doing that. And we know that Quinn was not able to drink the Kool-Aid.
I did not drink the Kool-Aid. Okay, what can we do about a child on an IEP that refuses to go in the classroom or the research room or to do anything?
So you need to come back to the table and have an IEP meeting and talk about different supports for that student.
Okay. My kid has ISS for refusing to do his work. He has accommodations for emotional disturbance and ADHD. Thoughts? I'm feeling frustrated because I feel like they're punishing him for his disability.
So if you have a behavior that requires a consideration of discipline and you believe that it's connected to the characteristics of his disability, call an MDR, a manifestation determination resolution meeting at any time. There are kids that have disabilities that do things that are emotional and even have an emotional disability that's not connected to their disability. I don't know because I don't know the totality. But just giving a kid ISS solves 0 problems.
All right. I need help. I've had enough. My daughter is in Katy ISD, and they do not want to service her.
Correct. So you should email us. We have amazing advocates, and our advocates do fire state complaints in the district you just talked about and other districts that choose to deny children a free or appropriate public education. So just reach out to us at advocate@specialeducationacademy.com. Somebody asked about press conferences. I've had 2 people ask from different states about press conferences. Do I come and do press conferences? Yes. There's a nominal fee to get me there, and then obviously you have to get me there. I prefer to get there air conditioned, like not by canoe or, horseback. But if that's something you're interested in for what's going on in your district or community, you can reach out to us at advocate@specialeducationacademy.com.
All right. My child has an AAC device, but there are 4 buttons on it. How are they able to talk to people at school?
Well, first, you would need somebody that need somebody that has the same augmentative alternative communication so that you're talking to each other. I don't know about the 4-button device. I bet your kiddo could crush using an iPhone. So let's get a more robust AAC evaluation to look at the appropriate system for him and make sure that when you're doing an evaluation that they have feature matched. And when you're in a meeting with other adults that are supposed to use it, I say things like, how do you motor plan? What days of the week do you add content? I had a lady tell me the other day, I said, have you added content to Billy's device? And she said, yes, in August. I said, have you taught the rest of the class any more vocabulary since then? Oh, yeah. I said, well, why didn't you add it to him? Well, he has most of the words. I won't tell you what I thought, because I certainly can't tell you out loud what I thought. It wasn't good.
What's my best course of action when the principal says, I don't want any more IEP kids here?
Oh, I assume that you're a staff member. I would reach out to us and train to be a special education advocate. This would be a great time for you guys to train to be advocates. Like, it would really be a great time. We won't tell anybody.
What do you do if your child's IEP is not being followed and the teacher has even told you they don't do it?
I would file a state or federal complaint. And we have trainings on that in the academy.
When should we get a PWN? I've never received one from the school. It's been 2 years.
No rush. When the school chooses to deny or implement something related to the evaluation, the IEP, or I don't have it at the top of my head. Whenever they choose to start a process or deny a process related to your child's IEP. But I ask for a PWN for everything. If somebody says, you can't go to summer school because you're not tall enough, give me that in a PWN. ESY is only for kiddos that have toileting issues. Give me that in a PWN. Yeah.
All right. Well, when requesting compensatory time, what do you say when there's no language in IDEA about that?
So compensatory time is to compensate the student. It's relief, as cited in case law, to return the student back to where they would have been had the violation not occurred. So that's in case law. So we have laws and then case law. That means that somebody litigated that in front of a fact finder, a hearing officer, or a judge. And so I use language from that case law. That is what compensatory time is.
Why do elementary IEPs not include accommodations for specials like art and music?
I don't know. Do you not have a disability when you go to art and music? Mine do.
Can a student receive their interventions in the resource setting or from a resource teacher?
Can they? Is that your question?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me the question again. I'm sorry.
Can a student receive their interventions in the resource setting or from a resource teacher?
If that's on their schedule of services page, of course.
What do you do if your child's IEP isn't being followed? Oh, you just run through that one. I'm sorry. Should the present levels be different than the previous IEP's present levels?
I don't know, unless you've had your child in the freezer and they haven't changed at all. But yes, your child's present levels should be, what's the word I'm talking about? Thinking present. So what's going on academically, what's going on during transition, what's going on during recess and PE and lunch and on the bus and with their related service and their communication. And yeah, they should be different. Silly.
Can you address how many years behind a student must be before they're allowed to be tested or evaluated?
None. The law says nothing about being behind. It says we test kids with that are in need of, that may be in need of special education related service that have a suspected disability. It doesn't say jack about years behind. Is jack a legal word? I feel like it is.
Jack is a legal word.
Okay, good.
Just like Ed. Is Jack and Ed hang out?
I do.
Is the school allowed to make the child ask for an accommodation?
No. You don't. If you're disabled, our job is to make you look less different. No, we're not asking for you to follow the law. It's the weirdest thing.
One more. All right. What can we do with a teacher that withholds food, breakfast, lunch, snacks from a child with an IEP as a punishment?
So you're not going to like this answer. If you did that to my child, if I did that to your child babysitting, I would call Child Protective Services. I don't care if you like that answer. This has nothing to do with IEP or 504 or general ed. You're harming the child. Our first charge as educators, as humans, as adults, when we're around children, is to do no harm. So that's where I would start, and I would immediately pick up the phone and call the assistant for the superintendent and say, if my child's civil rights are not reinstated by 5 p.m. today, I will be going to the news. We'll see you guys on, where are we going to see you? At the academy. Remember, when we get it right for the child, we get it right for everybody. We love you guys. We'll see you at the next training.
Hit subscribe, share this with a friend, and you know what? Meet me back here every single week. We're not just talking about change, we're making it. Because when you know better, you do better. And when we get it right for the child, we get it right. for everybody.